So today we are graced to have a very good friend of ours at Pudi community, at Elixir Kenya also. We have one of our very good and talented speakers. We have Njoki Kiarie with us. She has been with us along this journey. She has also been able to deliver a speech to us, a very good talk to us over the conference that really brought a lot of people jump but now to Elixir. We thank you for making it here with us today. The podium is all yours. Now you can go.
Hello. Can you allow me to share my screen? I'm not going to be able to top the performance of that music. So that was to wake you up in case I bore you to death, but I'll try my level best. And as she said, my name is Njoki Kiarie. I'm a software developer at Utrust. I still can't share. So I'm a developer at Utrust. At Utrust, we have a payment gateway that allows users to pay using cryptocurrency. Our main stack is Elixir, and I think part of working on this system has made me fall in love with Elixir, although I think I'm just biased towards Elixir. And my talk today is making a case for why you should convert all those brilliant ideas you have to change the world using Elixir. Can you allow me to share, please? Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my title for today's talk is From Idea to MVP with Elixir, and why I think it's perfect for building MVPs. All right, so I'm not sure where the noise is coming from. Thank you. So let's say you have your aha moment, you have decided you're going to change the world, or you're going to do the other nice thing, which is make money, not that you can't do both. So you decide this is the idea I'm going with, so you want to build an MVP for it. So what's an MVP? It's a product with just a very basic but necessary set of features that allows a company to release it to market. So you have just enough, you have decided you're going to solve this particular thing. And then you, from the list of all the things that you could do, say you have decided to be the next WhatsApp, and you've decided you're going to connect people. So you could have messaging, you could have video calls, you could have normal audio calls, you could send messages. You decide by deciding the most necessary. So the idea is to connect to people. So you decide, I am going to have a system that allows people to sign up and people to talk to each other via text. So that is what an MVP is. And when you're thinking of an MVP, you think of an MVP as a prototype to your final product or service. So you start from there and then you build on it. So it's not something separate from your final product. So say I have decided I am going to solve a food security issue, and how I'm going to do that is provide snacks. And I'm going to call this pastry a donut, right? So the picture on your left shows what an MVP would look like in this pastry world. I have created something simple that users can consume and then give feedback. Maybe they don't like it in cinnamon flavor or something. And then once I have figured this part out, I can start adding to features. And now my features would be the frosting and the toppings. And that would be my final product. So from this, you can see that an MVP is a complete product by itself. It's not something, it's not It's not flour, it's complete. Then on the next slide, we see what an MVP is not. So an MVP is not an incomplete product. So the code line in your machine waiting to be completed, that's not an MVP. An MVP is a complete product. So the first, the upper part, we have an assembly line where you first build the wheels, and then you build the body, and then you complete the car. So the only time a user can be able to test this out is in the final step. And then on the second one, we show like how to build an MVP. So the first one is the minimal viable product with no engine. So this one is being powered by man. So he's pushing it, which I know is impossible, but you get the gist. The idea for this product is to take someone from point A to B. So the first one we have someone pushing it. The second one we decide, let's build an engine. And the next one you decide, why should it carry 2 people? Let's have more than 2. So let's add extra seats. The last one, you decide to make it prettier and streamline it so that it can be faster. So you can see that on every step, this is a complete product by itself. So say our money that we have gathered from family and friends, because most of the time when we're building MVPs, it's not like we have a lot of money, has ended at point 2. We still have a product that is being used by users and can bring us money and help us to build number 3. So that's the whole idea of an MVP. It shouldn't be an incomplete product. It's a complete product with just the necessary things that you keep adding on to. So why do we need an MVP? One, you're able to test your idea. You might think that donuts are the in thing, but maybe people like mandazis more. So the sooner you find out, the better. And an MVP allows you to do that. So before I even start adding my frosting and the different toppings, people can find out if they like donuts, mandazis more. It will save you time and money. So instead of me having to build the whole 2 years and then come up with a car that people don't like, if I start slowly with a car with minimal viable features and then build onto it, I can be able to figure out that people don't like cars, people actually prefer bicycles, and I can be able to pivot. And if they like it, then it's a good way of getting feedback. So I can be able to get feedback based on the behaviors of the user. So let's say you've created a system, you get to understand which part of your system gets traffic, what kind of users go to which kind, use which features are they requesting for. So with feedback, you're able to build on top of your initial concept, and it's not assumed that this is what the market needs. This is something you're getting from the market. And then maybe another reason why we need an MVP is to attract investors. You started with little or no money, and now you need investors. So this is a proof of concept. So I've built this thing, I have 2 users using it, and I think it could scale. So some of the constraints that are usually there when we are building an MVP. So one, you have a very small team. Either you have a small team or you're just alone. So you have your idea. We know of all these stories of people started in their garages. They started in college with their friends. It's usually a very small team, so you don't have like a large number of people working on this idea. And then 2, you have limited funds or no funds. 3, speed is an issue because there's nothing like monopoly of ideas. So the same thing you're thinking about that could change the world, my donut story, everyone, we have maybe 10 more people thinking about this, and how fast you go to market really matters, whether you're going to be able to cut it in that particular niche. Then number 4, you need to, you're trying to validate your hypothesis. So this is what I think the market needs, and it needs to validate this. So then after we have decided the problem we are solving, and we have decided the necessary features that we need. Now we need to pick at the technology to use. And what forms this is one, your project idea, your desired functionality, and the life cycle of your application. So depending if you want to go into data science, if you want to do a web application, if you want to build for a mobile app, you get to whatever your use case is determines what you get to use. But today we are, we are biased. We are saying Elixir can fix all your issues, right? So why choose Elixir? Why would I go with Elixir to validate my hypothesis? So I came up with 4 reasons why I would go with Elixir. The first one is productivity. So with productivity, with an MVP, you're thinking about costs and you're thinking about time. And the more productive your team is, the sooner you're going to be able to release to market, the sooner you're going to get feedback, the less the cost of you taking something from prototype to MVP. And how Elixir helps with this is, so Elixir comes with frameworks such as Phoenix and the ready-to-use libraries like Ector and Phoenix Auth that usually help you focus on the business logic. So you're able to, by just one command, you're able to create a whole web application with all the things that you could need. And the only thing you have to focus on, you don't have to focus on how to connect to the database. You do not have to focus on how you're going to route your requests or how you're going to make your system safe. Everything is sort of inbuilt. You get to focus on what it is that you're trying to achieve, and that brings about productivity. Something else is that Elixir has a very friendly syntax, and if programmers enjoy using a language, then they become more productive. And in case where like Elixir is new to you and to your team, it's very easy to learn. So it will not, the learning curve is not as, it's very easy to learn and pick up, and that way you become productive after a few months. Also, the modular nature of Elixir, it's a functional language, makes it, puts it in a way that you have very clean code. You have functions, and every one function does one thing, and it's able to, and it's very easy to read through Elixir code, especially when it's well written. But how it's set up, you're able to write clean code unless you really want to be messy. So, and all these factors help you become very productive, which is important. Number 2, we have growth. So we, most of the time when we are building the MVP, we're just thinking, I'll put a few things together and then show this, and then you test it out with 2 customers or 2 users, and then it works. But when you're building an MVP, you have to have a long-term perspective in mind. You don't want a case where you release something to market, people like it, and then 2 days after launch, you're thinking of rewriting this whole thing with a different technology. So as much as you're not over engineering, you're thinking about what the future would look like. And with Elixir, you can build fast and without compromising quality. Elixir is set up in a way that it allows for your system to handle high load. So if you move from 10 users to 1 million users, it's still going to handle the load relatively well without you having to add to your capacity, your hardware capacity. And how it's able to do this is through something we call concurrency. And I guess here is where I mentioned that Elixir is built on top of Alang. Alang is a language that was built by Ericsson, the telephony company. They wanted to solve some issues like concurrency, so having multiple executing multiple processes at once, and fault tolerance. So having something that could handle errors well. And Elixir being built on top of Alang, it gets the advantage of having the Alang virtual machine, which is called BIM. So how this works is so when you start an Elixir application, the Alang virtual machine starts a scheduler on every CPU. And on that, the processes that are created in Elixir are built inside the Alang virtual machine and not the computer's OS. And the good thing with the processes built on BIM, they are very lightweight. So compared to the other processes, so you can have thousands and thousands of processes without having to increase capacity. And this is how Elixir handles high load. So when it's time for your system to grow and handle more users, you're able to do that without having to do much, yeah, just without having to do most of the time nothing, yeah. Then something else is error handling. So we have our saying in Elixir and Alang that you let things crash. So if a system is in production, something is going to go wrong. There's no way you're going to have a system that just works perfectly. Something is going to go wrong. A user is going to enter maybe the wrong input, and something is going to crash. Right. So the idea is that if something goes wrong, if one process fails, it should not affect the operation of other processes or even provoke an overall system failure. That say we have an online calculator system, right? So we have users doing addition, someone else decides to do a division of 10 and 0, which we know is going to give an exception. So, we forgot to account for that part. So what the system is going to do is that is going to fail, but everyone else who is using the system will continue with their. All the other processes are going to continue as usual. So, and how Elixir is able to do this is through something we call supervisors. So supervisors are processes. So it's a process. Everything in Elixir is a process, and processes speak to each other through messaging. So a supervisor is a process that supervises child processes. So we have one big process, a parent process that's supervising all these children. So what happens is if there's a failure, so if someone decides to divide 10 by 0, that system is going to exit and then it's going to be restarted depending on the strategies, because we have something called strategies. So you can have a case where the supervisor decides to, you can have a case where the supervisor, the system decides to not just start the process that failed, but start all the processes in case, depending on the strategy that you've picked. But with supervisors, you're able to have a very fault tolerant system. So you don't have to keep trying to restart your system and waiting for users to tell you that your system is down and then you're restarting it. The other thing is, with now that you have supervisors, you don't have to account for edge cases, right? You don't have to think for every possible scenario that could go wrong. And I'm sorry, that is distracting. Kevin, can you mute your mic? Thank you. So what I was saying is with supervisors, you don't have to account for all edge cases. I don't have to think about what happens if a user divides by 0, what happens if a user inputs a number that's not an integer. I don't have to think about all these things. I get to focus on the business part, and then if something fails, I'll get the alert, but my system is going to go on as usual, and I'll have time to fix it. So maybe if I get the error that someone tried to divide by 0, then I can be able to add to pattern match and say that, and if the number is 0, then don't do anything. Return an error and tell them that it's not possible to divide by 0. the other thing, the last thing is that Elixir has a very engaged community. So you have a group of people who are willing and to share their experiences and developing new tools. And I think the community has grown bigger over time. So we are all, the community is always improving the language, the frameworks like Phoenix, coming up with new tools. There's so many tutorials that people are creating. We have wonderful documentation. There's so much supporting information that would help you get into Elixir quickly and get like the most value out of it. Then we have, if you want to reach out to other people, other alchemists, other people who work with Elixir, we have Twitter, people are very active there. We have an Elixir channel, we have one for Africa, and I think we have an overall one. People are active on Discord. We have Elixir forum where most people post their issues and things they would like help with and the upcoming events. We have meetups like these ones, and we also have conferences. We have ours coming up in May, which would love for all of you to attend. So with Elixir, it's very easy to learn and get everything that you need. Yeah. Oh, and someone is saying there's Telegram too. So yeah, there's so much, and we have, everyone is always willing to help. So if you need mentorship, if you need guidance, if you need help with particular projects, there are people to help you with that. And that makes Elixir a very cool tool to use when you writing your MVP, and not even just your MVP, even your normal applications. In summary, so Elixir gives you so many business possibilities. It's not just restricted to web applications. You can do a lot with it. You want to go into machine learning, we have the NX library. You decide you want to go into IoT, we have the NAVS projects, which is very interesting. You should look into it. For web applications, we have the Phoenix framework. We have LiveView, which is now inbuilt into Phoenix, and LiveView helps you with responsiveness. So imagine everything that you'd get from React, just having it inside the Phoenix framework, which makes it very easy. You're not maintaining, I don't have a React project for frontend and an Elixir project for backend. I just have one project that handles both front end and back end, which would, in a case where you have a small team or it's just you, then it's very easy for you to be productive and for you to build something that you can actually release to markets. And of late, we have LiveView Native, which helps you with mobile development. So if we decide that your application has gotten more users and these users want to do it, these users would prefer not to go to Chrome and search for your site. They want to have it on their mobile apps. Then you can end the questions.
We have not yet received. All right, there's a question here from Adolfo. He's asking, isn't it difficult to find Elixir developers? That is for startups.
Oh yeah, no, there's that issue where we have very few Elixir developers, and most of them are already snatched up. But as I said, Elixir is very easy to learn. So if you don't even need to look for people outside your team, you can train your team you can train your team on Elixir, and within a few months, they are able to be productive. It doesn't have a high, the learning curve is not steep. So you can either look for developers or you can train your developers. And the idea here is to train your developers, and then we can become more Elixir developers. I hope that answers your question.
Hello, Njoki.
Hi.
So I have a question. This is for beginners. So how do you advise people who want to start with Elixir for them to interact with the web? Because it's always nice to start with the UI for most people.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. So would you advise them to start with live view or start with Phoenix first, then jump to live view?
Start with Phoenix first. You start, okay, first start, if you're starting with Elixir, I would go to Elixir school and start with types and pattern matching, because I think that was the one thing that stripped me up. So start with Elixir, just the basics, yeah. It just because maybe you're moving from a different language, so you're just trying to see how is a string in Elixir, how is a list written in Elixir. So just the basic things, and then now move to Phoenix, Phoenix the framework, and then because Phoenix is not just the HTML, the hits templates, you understand Phoenix, and then now you can be able to start using the live view templates. Otherwise, you won't be able to know how you move from database to context, from schema to context, and now to view. So I would advise you start with Phoenix. I think this is a question. I got to know about Elixir this year when I attended a hackathon at Valley Chain. I'm loving it. Oh yeah, it's a good language, and it gets better the more you figure it out. It gets more interesting as you figure it out and see how the different parts work, and you're able to be more productive as you go along.
We have Kefa mentioning that it was quite a great presentation.
Thank you, Kefa.
Do we have anyone with any other question? If not, we'd like to thank you very much for honoring and giving us that talk. We believe it has been beneficial and very helpful to most of us. There's a question from Moses. He asks, is it possible to make mobile apps with Phoenix as backend?
Yes. If you want to, if you have something like Flutter and you want Phoenix to be your backend, then it's possible, because it's and now we have the option of Live View native, so where you can actually have the front end as Elixir too. So it's possible either way as backend, because you can create APIs with Phoenix, and as front end, because we have Live View native.
Okay. We have adults confirming that it was actually a very clear presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Is Absinthe that's necessary? If you're thinking of going with GraphQL, so we have REST APIs and we have GraphQL, and Absinthe helps you create GraphQL endpoints. So yes, so if you want to go with GraphQL, then you use Absinthe. It's a library, so you don't have to use it, but the idea of libraries is that you have most of the work cut out for you, and you only get to focus on the business logic. How good is Live View native? I have not tried it yet, but I hear it's good. I'll be sure to share as soon as I try it out. Yeah. And are you guys organizing any gigs? Yeah, we have these meetups every month. Sorry, not every week. We have these meetups every month. We have the Elixir conference for 2023 coming up soon in May. So if you'd like to be part of the organizing team and get all this information, you are welcome. We are always looking for volunteers. Juliet, did I miss something?
Not at all, not at all. There's one last question, plus a comment. Good presentation. What are some of the downsides of Elixir in your experience?
Oh, downsides. I am embarrassed. I can't say any. I haven't met any yet, and I moved from a different language to Elixir, and I don't know if that language or was that bad, but I'm having a field with Elixir. So I guess the only, if you're moving from object-oriented programming to functional programming, then there's definitely some bits of a learning curve. So you stop thinking about classes and methods and you start thinking about functions. But I haven't seen any yet, unless the team has something that they know that I don't know. Yeah, and Moses has not regretted so far. He moved from Java to Elixir. I share in your views.
We thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you for the crowd for also joining us. We believe, sorry about the noise. We hope that the talk has been very enlightening, and we challenge Njoki to continue with the road. Thank you so much for joining us. And do have a lovely rest of the day, evening, and morning.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
All right.
So it was lovely. Okay, bye, guys.